what did a skateboard magazine mean to me? It was my window into this new world that I was very infatuated with. My friend gave me a skateboard that rolled around on the ground, and we had no idea what it was or what you did with it. And it was just instant, like, I love this, but I wanted to know what it was.
Skateboard magazines were where you saw all the skateboarding when I was a kid. Like, there was no videos, there was no internet, there was no Instagram, there was no this immediate satisfaction. Like, you saw the magazine, you saw what was happening, and then you had to wait till the next magazine to see what was happening. So you had to wait a month, you know? So magazines were like the greatest thing ever. Like, everybody that I know that would get magazines, like, because I remember even going to like skate shops or wherever I would go, and I would get the magazines, and I would have them all, and I would I'd put them on, like, I'd put them next to me and be like, okay, I'm gonna look at Transworld, then I'm gonna look at Thrasher, then I'm gonna look at Slap, then I'm gonna look at Big Brother, then I'm gonna, you know, like, I would look at every single magazine, like, meticulously, like, turning the pages. You know, that's when I was older, but even when I was a kid, I remember, like, we would get the magazine, we'd all huddle around it, because it'd be one magazine, it'd be 5 of us, and we're all looking to see, like, who was doing what.
It was my life. It was everything. They were, like, I can't even explain what they mean to me or what they are to me. That's fucking a 2 hour. I could talk to you for 6 hours, but what they mean to me, what they are to me, they're everything to me. Okay, it's as simple as I can. They, you know, I cut them up, I put them on my wall, I looked at them again and again and again and analysed them again and again and again to find out what was going on in the photos, to try and work it out. They were like, they were like puzzles to me. I'd looked at them so many times till they were just tattered and torn and they were just smashed, you know?
As a photographer, like, the skateboard magazine that's the payoff. That's when you get to see it. You get to see the image. And that's like the big show, you know? The big debut, the performance. And when you get it on the cover, it's like, whew.
A skateboarding magazine was the first way I consumed skateboarding, for me, from my generation. And it just so happens in France in 86, 87, I got a couple of Transworlds, you know? That's what came to me through the American school. And so, you know, you can talk about a Bible or whatever you want, but in my experience with skateboarding, that was one of my Bibles.
I grew up in Florida, and we're so far from California. You know, back when I started in like 89, 90, everything was in California. So the idea of the skateboard magazine is kind of like, it was almost like a message in a bottle, you know, that floated up on shore. And it was like, this is what skateboard, you know, it's like the city of skateboarding across the ocean somewhere. You get to see a little piece of it by seeing the skateboard magazine. To me, that's how it started. It was, you know, when there was no internet and you're very separate from California. So it was kind of like, you know.
Growing up in the 70s, like, getting my first taste of skateboarding, like, we didn't know what to do, or what, you know, we just saw either kids riding down the street with their skateboards, or, you know, a magazine appeared at a grocery store, and I would just look at photos in the magazine and just be like, whoa, what is this? You know, like, everything about a photo. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the guy specifically. It was like seeing a skateboard, like, in the air, like the purple wheels and like the graphic on the skateboard and like the sky and all these things were like kind of sucked me into like that kind of media, you know. And I didn't know it then. I just knew that was how I got my stoke for skateboarding. Like, oh, look, there's the new magazine. Like, there's all these dudes in there skating and riding these parks that I want to go to. And, you know, that's again, it sucked me in. Like, next thing I just wanted to go to skate parks and like ride. And so a magazine was all we had.
That was my life. That was my guide to what was I gonna wear, what music am I gonna listen to, what tricks am I gonna try, what spots do I dream of going to, you know. It was a reflection of me. in my youth, a skateboard magazine. So it was the most important thing in the world at one point to me.
Whenever I think about the magazine in print in general, I think about what my room looked like when I was a kid and how I ripped out all these photos, and there wasn't like a square inch of my wall that didn't have a skate photo on it, something that I'd ripped out from the magazine.
That was the goal. It's like being able to see what's on the next issue, like who's going to be on the cover, who's going to be on the contents page, like what are companies doing for ads. Like I believe that, like, I mean, for me, even to this day, you know, a lot of like happiness, a lot of shit that made me want to keep fucking skateboarding, like you had to do it like print magazines.
The magazines are kind of like a monthly like transmission from Planet Awesome. Of just like, that's really all we had to go by for skateboarding back then. There wasn't the internet, and it was just all magazines. You got maybe like 1 or 2 skate videos a year, so it was all magazines. So like when you got a new Transworld or Thrasher, it was like a big deal because that was all the skateboarding you could have, really, and you just looked over them over and over and over again. So
The first magazine that ever came into my life was a September issue 1986 of Thrasher magazine with Mark Gonzalez on the cover. Yellow background. He's doing some sort of bean plant on a bank in San Francisco.
The weird thing about the first published photo for me was the cover of Andrew Reynolds frontside flipping the Wilshire 15, which was a session that was set up by Mike Ballard, and Mike Ballard was shooting long lens, and he let me shoot fisheye up close so we'd have 2 different angles of it or whatever. So that photo my angle ended up on the cover as skateboarder, and although it's not technically my photo, like it was his session and everything, but I like shot the photo. So that was like a super surreal situation to be in. I wasn't working at I was just interning at Skateboard at the time, and I was working at Jackass, the TV show. And they took me to lunch and presented me the cover, framed or whatever, and offered me a job to be the photo editor at Skateboarder because Ballard was leaving.
I know there was a photo, when I was like a little kid, it was at Venice High, and I think there's Natas Kappas is like all in over hip, and Eric Dressen's in there, and Christian Asoy, and they're all 3 going different directions, like kind of at each other. And I remember seeing that photo and thinking like, wow, how did that work? You know what I mean? And how did that guy get so high? You know, it was an interesting photo.
When I was a kid, the first magazines I got, I went to a record store in Lubbock, Texas, and I got 2 issues of Thrasher, the Danzig cover and the Jesse Martinez cover. And then around the same time, I got the Dan Wilkes Transworld cover. And this was before I'd seen any videos. So the craziest thing was, back in those days, there was a lot of like running with the board in your hand and jumping into the air, like run up a car with the board in your hand and jump and onto your board, and land. But the picture would just be a guy. And I'm like, how did he get up there? Like, how do you make yourself fly over a car? Because the feet would already be on the board. And I'm like, what am I missing? Like, there's a trick. Somehow you can get yourself 6 feet in the air. So it was like, there's that experience of like looking at it and trying to make sense of it, going, how does this even work?
I had this and maybe like 2 or 3 French, I think it was No Way or one of those early. And basically this is all I had to tell me about skateboarding. Like he had the videos, I didn't have any videos yet. So I would like leaf through this and this is basically how I learned about skateboarding. And I remember I would always think every photo was shot in Britain because it says Grant Britain. But I thought it was saying it's shot in Britain, So I was like, I remember being like, damn, all these photos are shot in Britain. Look, here's the guy in Britain. Wow, that's cool. I gotta go to Britain, you know? But yeah, that's basically it, and that's how I got in, yeah.
I went out to stay with my brother in San Francisco when I was 15, so that was like 92, I think. And he's like, oh, hey, my friend Lance just started doing this magazine, you should check it out. And he left to work, and it was a Slap magazine. I think it was maybe the second or first issue. And it was all black and white, had like a little, like, I think the logo was in color. And it was just, you know, a lot of sequences. But it was all Bay Area stuff, but it was just like, that was the first time that something just struck me as it was different, you know? And I'd seen Transworld and Thrasher for a while, but this was something that was like, and I was a skater at that point. I started skating a couple years before that, so that's the first time where something was like, wow, this is rad, you know? It's just like, the paper was different, it felt, you know, it felt maybe cheaper, I don't know, but it just felt, it was different and rad, and the layouts were different. It just felt less like, felt less polished, and I really liked that, you know? So that was the first time that, you know, a printed magazine, you know, really like stood out to me.
Looking back on it later in life, I think that one particular issue was super impactful and really affected the way that I thought about skateboarding and what it looks like, and the elements of it and what a magazine should showcase and all that. It was the cover that's now really famous of Todd Swank pushing Grant's photo with the, you know, the back. It was amazing, and I mean, I didn't know anything about it at the time. That was my first exposure to a skateboard magazine, so you know, this is normal. I didn't know how unusual that photo was. I didn't know there weren't very many magazine covers at the time that looked and felt like that. It was very much like trick oriented, and that one happened to be very like soulful.
Magazines today should use the same filter that people used to use in making a book, a coffee table book. Like, that's something, like, a magazine should be filled with stuff that you want to pick up and look at 5 or 10 years from now. Like, to me, that's what the filter should be. And it wasn't, you know, 10, 12 years ago, magazines were 400 pages. It was like, I made jokes about, oh, like, this photo's getting ran someplace, you know what I mean? Because they all did. And now, that's why I think that print, it should be the best of the best content. It should be the most creative. It should be whatever it is. It should be the best skating. It should inspire you to look at it again and again and again. And it should inspire you to want to go skate. It should inspire you to want to go take photographs. It should inspire you to be creative the same way that magazines used to for me as a kid.
To this day, I still think print is a very valuable thing that's needed. There's something about it. Maybe it's tangible. Maybe it's, you can tear out a piece of paper, put it on your wall. Whatever it is, it's just it makes me still want it. So maybe that's old school or not, but I still feel like it's still there. Some magazines have shrunk. Some magazines have gone away. Some magazines have grown. But it's something that's needed, I think. I mean, look at the magazine stands. The internet doesn't do the same thing. Like, a swiping magazine is not the same as a tangible, something you hold and go through.
To me, it's interesting to go from where print magazines were at the center of my information about skateboarding to they lie on the periphery today. You know, all the news you used to get from a magazine, and it used to have this crazy delay. Now you have social media, and you know instantly what's happening with anyone you care about in skateboarding all over the world. So that whole news flow that you used to get from magazines is gone. Like, the columns that used to be important, like who was writing for what company, what new companies happened, you know, team changes, like who turned pro, all that stuff, the magazine has no there's no point for a magazine to even almost deliver that anymore because you found out 3 months ago on Instagram.
I guess every media brand in skateboarding is so vastly different to the other. I see good and bad in all the different publications. Even Slam, you know, I'm always trying to better the product, you know. You're only as good as your last issue, and I feel like each issue I'm trying to better what we've done. So for other publications, I think the key is constantly changing, evolving. Don't stagnate, because as soon as you stagnate, that's when you're going to have a problem, and that's when you won't necessarily sell the magazines you need to keep the business viable.
I thought Sidewalk was really good. I think that was a bad move that they got one big magazine gone, but then, you know, everything that came out of that was good too. So everyone is doing small, independent things right now, and I think it's good. It's never going to be like it was. It'll never go back to what it was, but it's always going to be there. It'll always be there. Print will always be there.
It's rad to see that it's important to enough people. Like, it's definitely at a lower important level as far as like the whole world, you know, regionally, but people do care about it. So for me, it's the most important. It's the funnest thing to do, like to actually go from, you know, shooting a photo, picking the photos from other people, like putting articles together, seeing it getting laid out, you know, sending it off to the printer. You know, those things I've done for 25 years, and they're still exciting every month, which is rad. And it is rad when you hand it to a skater. Like the last experience I had, like when we surprised Kevin Kowalski with his cover, you know, he didn't know he had a cover. And this is something that I would always try to do anyways, you know, over the years, that whenever I shot a photo for a cover, I wouldn't tell the guy, and I would like hand it to him. They'd be like, "Whoa, I'm on the cover," you know. Nowadays, with everything so pre-planned in the world of skateboarding, like, "Oh, I'm shooting this for a cover," you know, "Oh, you know, there's all these things that are kind of set up that wasn't the way it used to be." It's rad to still be able to do that, you know. So I hand him this cover, he's like, "Whoa," and his look on his face showed me that it meant a lot, you know. It wasn't just like, "Oh, cool," and he put it down, you know. He's gonna keep it, and everybody that was there that day was like super excited, and like it seemed it was important to everybody.
What is missing in skateboard magazines is the element of surprise of what they had before. I mean, I always look back. Okay, so the 97 cover of Kalis backside 180 the San Francisco Bridge, that had an Eric Costin and Guy Mariano spotlight in it, 2 spotlights in it, and it was all from Mouse, and no one had seen any trick of what was coming in the girl video. No one knew. And that was the first time they saw what was coming. They saw what the guy was going to do. The switch to back tail, like, it was all in that. Some of it was in the magazine. So that was the first thing you saw of it. And so that doesn't happen anymore. You know, the first time I saw the chin ramp was in Transworld. That blew me away. I saw Animal Chin Ramp. I didn't even know what was going on. And then, you know, I wanted to watch the video more. Danny Way helicopter jump, that was announced in Transworld. That was, you know, Thrasher at it, but the photos, the main photos were in Transworld. The launch of the Mega Ramp, that was a magazine exclusive. You know, that doesn't happen anymore.
Maybe it's so much of the same thing, right? And it's like a tour article. I don't know if I need another tour article through the Midwest with the same spots and just a different trick. Now, if there's a great story with that tour, I'm down for that. But for me, like I said, it has to be a story, and there has to be some substance, and I want it to be maybe written differently than normal, or maybe each skater on the trip is interviewed. I like that a lot. Everyone's got something to say, something different to say about the same experience, and that's always cool too. I just read that article for the Sodi trip where they took like the crew to Hawaii, And I thought Guy Mariano's interview in there was like amazing, and Guy's experience versus like some of the younger kids' experiences, because like you look at Kevin Bradley who went on that trip and he's like partying and just doing his thing, and then Guy is like at the beach every morning stretching. Like that, to me, that's the stuff I like remember. I probably can't tell you a single trick that was done in that article, even though I read it cover to cover or end to end. But the content and what was said, that's what sticks with me. That's what I knew more of.
It's all a little too safe, and it's all a little too uniform. Like all the ads look pretty much the same.
Big Brother went against that. You know, they went the opposite direction. It was just like, they were just like, we don't care, you know? And everyone loved it. And I was basically telling Sean Cliver, I'm like, dude, like, if somebody came out today and made a magazine like Big Brother, like no holds barred, whatever we want to do, people would love it. Seriously, people would fucking love that. And it's just, I don't know, like when skateboarding lost its ball sack or whatever, you know, like, but everybody is sort of like, I don't know. I get it. Everybody's like scared, you know. Don't rock the boat. Like, you know, don't upset Billabong. You know, they might not advertise with us. Don't piss off Billabong. You know, money. You gotta make that money. And it makes sense. Like I said, it's a business. It makes sense. But god damn, how fucking boring is the fucking climate in skating.
I feel like everything got way too serious, and skateboarding has that side, which is needed, but there's also a whole other side of skateboarding that's not serious and fun, and you know, and like just about your friends and hanging out and meeting people and traveling, and you know, and I just feel like everything, it's just it's getting a little too serious, you know, and I feel like that's the aspect that's missing. I feel like Big Brother, when Big Brother was around, the skateboarding was almost secondary. You know what I mean? It was just like, we're these dudes that live this crazy life, and we do crazy shit, and here it is, and oh yeah, and we skateboard too.
If you've seen Big Brother, you know how I cover skateboarding, which is I don't give a fuck about it. Like you can't really describe the act of skateboarding. It's the only way you can describe it is ostensively by pointing at it. Get on it and ride it, and that's how you understand skateboarding. And to try and describe it in any other way just seems ridiculous to me. It's just because it's a fucking toy.
What I want out of a magazine is like a view of the culture of skateboarding. Like I want to see the other pieces of it beyond the tricks, and I think that's missing.
The easiest thing to do is to be a fan mag of pro skateboarding or of the company's agendas. That's the easiest thing to do. The company A has a video, here's the photos, tell us how great it is. You see that sometimes, you know, and it's the easiest way to do, and it works with that business model, but it gets boring, especially with the kind of a new trend of like devaluing writing in some of the magazines. It's like, kids don't want to read, let's have no stories, or just put it in the back for the nerds.
You can do anything. It's a printed piece. Just get weird. Get more interesting. If you fuck up, there's no way every brand is going to just leave from the magazine, you know. That's insane. It's nearly their duty to stay no matter what, you know. Thrasher take the piss out of Monster and Street League and all that, and I'm like, thank fucking God they do, because we all know it's the worst. But, you know, they're sponsors of it and they pay them and all that sort of stuff, but they still take the piss, so it's a good thing.
You know, people like Tim O'Connor is doing a good job of that. You know, I mean, fuck, I loved watching him skate. Like, all the shit he's ever put out, been fucking sick. I love the crossed arm stuff. But he's probably better now, because he has been through it, and now he's kind of funny, and he has an opinion. That's the three things you need, you know, comedy, ability, and an opinion. It makes for a fun listen, you know, when he puts out his radio shows and stuff. And Grosso as well, obviously, like, they're basically the kind of the champions of opinionated comparing, I suppose.
Free magazines? I think free magazines would be. Again, it just depends on like how you can swing it, right? It's like if you can provide a free magazine and it's able to pay its staff and see, what a lot of people don't understand is like you have a whole staff of people that are putting stuff together, right? And when you're in skateboarding, I think they look at any of the entities in skateboarding, Thrasher, Transworld, Skateboard Mag, the Barracks, even Jankum will get it at some point, right? It's like you hit a certain point and people look at you like you're Coca-Cola, right? And you're like, man, we're just trying to keep the lights on this month, you know? But because skateboarding is everything to them and you are in this slotted position as a leader, whether it's Thrasher, Transworld, Barracks, Skateboard Mag, Jankum, whatever, and a kid enters into this and then they just look at that as this source of inspiration, to them you might as well be fucking Coca-Cola.
I look at Low Card as the main free magazine, and I love Low Card in the sense that it's kind of, I look at like it's taken a back door to its popularity. It hasn't gone through normal channels, and it gives you a kind of a raw look at skateboarding, and it focuses on, I don't know if it focuses, but at least it characterizes a lot of the aspects of skateboarding that I like, being travel and the DIY element of skateboarding seems to be a big primary emphasis in Low Card. So, and I think that's just a better route to take. If you have the advertisers that can support you to pay for the print run of the magazine, it just makes it easier for kids to digest this information versus having to feel like, I don't have $5 for this magazine, or that purchase price is a barrier to actually looking at the magazine.
I don't know if a free magazine is the future of print, but I think it's a great way to keep print alive. And I can see that particularly in Europe, magazines have been forced to do that as a new business model. And if it's working for them and that they can still afford to pay their staff through strictly the advertising in magazines, and that's covering all their costs, and for the consumer it's free, then that's amazing that they're able to pull that off.
I don't think it should be for free, honestly. I think people need to pay for it, but the quality needs to be there. If the quality of the magazine is not there, then I don't want to pay for it. But I'm down to pay, $5, $6, whatever it is, to have a good magazine and read it. I mean, I still buy magazines to this day. I'll go when I travel, whenever, if I see a Thrasher or a Transworld or whatever that looks good, I'll buy it and read it. And I'll buy some art magazines, I'll buy architectural magazines, whatever it is.
And when the free mags, you don't pay directly for it, so it's paid by brands, which means brands have like complete control over what's going on in there, even if people are going to try to tell you the opposite. But let's face it, hey, I'm spending 10,000 euros on your magazine this year, what are you going to do for me? And by the way, I really did not like the last cover. That's the world we live in skateboarding, outside of skateboarding. And in skateboarding, we're a big family, everybody's brothers, everything is cool, but it's still the exact same situation.
Dank magazine, or Donk magazine, out of Norway, it's extremely expensive for me to import it. For some reason, Norway's postal system is really expensive, so to get a box of 50 of those costs us an insane amount of money. So we sell it for $15. It's a skate magazine. We retail it for $15 on our web store, and kids have to pay for shipping, and we still don't make any money off of it because of how expensive it is to import it, and we sell out of it. So it's like, you're gonna make a magazine that you give away for free, yet this magazine, they're doing less copies, they're selling it for $15, and we're selling out. It kind of proves that if something's done in a way that people feel like is really it's respectful, not respectful, but it's like there's a lot of care, you know, and craftsmanship going from the beginning to the end. People are willing to pay for it, you know, and maybe you won't have those numbers, you know, you won't be able to say we sold 150 million copies last year, you know, but I guarantee you, if somebody pays $15 for a dank magazine, it's going to sit on their shelf for a long time, you know.
Having people buy your magazine is definitely an important point, because it shows you that the content that you create is so important that the people want to pay for it. They feel so connected that they want to take something that they worked for and give it to you because you worked for it, and they appreciate your work. But it doesn't mean that I'm against free skateboard magazines. It's just that I feel that that signal is lost then, you know, if it's free.
This is what I would tell a kid who says, why should I buy a skate magazine if I can get it all for free? I would say if the price of a skateboard magazine is $5.95, that's like the price of a lunchtime burrito. Less than a hamburger in San Francisco. So you're investing in the price of a snack, a drink. If we eat a snack, if we eat our lunch, it's gone the next day. We never think where that $6 was. But if you're willing to love a skate mag, all these photographers and your favorite pros and the writers and editors coming together every month to make this thing, I believe it's worth one burrito in your life, and the price isn't gonna sink you. So I would encourage everyone to buy skate mags to support the culture of skating, and buy the mags that you feel like represent your worldview of skateboarding.
It would be interesting if you sat a kid down and asked him, like, do you read magazines? Do you look at magazines? You know, it would be curious to see what they say. Because we're like been through all the different phases of skateboarding, so we're like so confused of which route to even go with. Like, do you go internet or print or video parts, or what do you do?
How can we make kids go to the newsstand and buy a magazine? So if I knew that answer, I'd be rich. First of all, they've got to be really good. They've got to be so good that someone's going to want it, the kids have got to buy it. They have to. That's a tough one. I don't know. I'd like to think that magazines will always sell, but I don't know. I don't know what lies in the future. But saying that, I think there's a crew of kids out there, like almost like vinyl collectors, right? That want print magazine, that want to shoot their photos on film, that want to learn about the process, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. There's going to be a certain type of person, not a fucking hipster, but a person that wants that. I need it in my hand. I need a tangible thing. I don't want to look at like fucking digital shit. It don't mean anything. I want to print for the wall. I want to put vinyl on. I want to read a book. I want it. Yeah. I don't want to like look at the fucking shitty screen anymore.
I'm not sure if kids care about print. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't even know. I work in skateboarding and live a skateboarding lifestyle. I'm not sure I even know what kids like want in general, much less just print. It's like, what do they want? What's cool? What's not? It changes so much because there's so much available to you. So print, rails, parks, bowls, what kind of contest, street league, Van Doren Invitational, Tampa Pro, like the Beaufort I'm. I don't, what do they even want? I don't know. We're just feeding it all to them constantly, right? And we're just trying to figure it out and evolve constantly along the way.
I mean, it depends on what kids, you know, who are we talking about, 13-year-olds or 20-year-olds or anyone in general, you know? I think we make magazines for people that care about magazines, whether, I don't really make stuff for kids. I make stuff for skaters, right? And I think there has been this long misconception that the consumer is just a kid.
I don't share a magazine with my son until he's like trapped with me in the car, or I'm sitting with him in the living room, and I'll just hand him like a new magazine. And I fucking love hearing him go through it and tear some things apart and tell me what's sick. Because he's 17, or he's 18 now, he just turned 18. And he's so like, just what's cool is such a narrow like thing to him. It's so intriguing for me to hear.
I don't want to become a dinosaur. I don't want the magazine to be a dinosaur. We're definitely changing and adapting to the current times and doing all the digital stuff and doing Instagram, Facebook, and trying to interact with the kids and stuff for sure. But I guess I am a dinosaur in the sense that I still love the print magazine and still hold a lot of value in it and want it to be good, and I want people to respect the magazine because I feel like that's the core of the brand when it comes to advertisers and skaters and stuff, because the skaters dictate, and when I say skaters, I mean like sponsored skaters that you're dealing with in the magazines and stuff, they still want that cover, they still want the interview in the magazine, so there's still value to it in that realm. But then when you get outside of the industry and the actual kids, I don't know if they're reading magazine, I don't know, like it doesn't seem like they want to hold a physical magazine or go pay for it at all. Like, so it's a weird situation where I want to keep the magazine. I want kids to buy magazines. I want kids to get into it, but I just don't know if they are.
Maybe print isn't important. You know, maybe the kids are right. You know, maybe we're the dinosaurs.
I don't know if kids even do this anymore, but when I was a kid, my entire bedroom, floor to ceiling, covered in skate ads and skate photos. The hallway, because I lived upstairs in this house, the whole hallway, like there were like vaulted or whatever, beveled ceilings or whatever, but the whole like the wall in the hallway, the length of the hallway, skate photos, skate ads, like photos of like my favorite skaters and just random stuff or whatever. And when I moved, I took each one down, trimmed off the tape, and I moved into another place, put the favorite ones from that stack at my new place.
It's tough in skateboarding because, you know, people want to say that it's like journalism, but you can't make advertisers mad in skateboarding. And, you know, it's kind of, I feel like you put yourself in a difficult position if you're in the magazine and you're trying to like write funny stuff, because then you're immediately going to get calls from these companies that own brands and be like, dude, why are you making fun of our pro or our rider? And internet, like Jenkum, is free from that for the most part, probably. They don't have to worry like about making a couple pros mad.
The Jenkum website, they have no advertisers. They owe nobody anything. They can say whatever they want, and that's journalism. That's the definition of true journalism. Is like just reporting the facts, what's going on, and and opinions and whatever. And clearly we know that like it can get gnarly on Jenkum.
It's honest when there is, say, whatever, an article or something, because it's somebody just writing about their buddies and whatever happened, but you can't say anything. You have advertisers, you say something wrong about one guy and they're paying you thousands and thousands of dollars a year on advertising. You can't piss that person off, then you're losing revenue.
I couldn't say, hey, here's a brand, give me money to support the magazine, and then 3 pages later we're talking shit about one of their writers. Like, I don't think it's their job to finance a machine like that, right? It's our job as a media company to make their companies look good.
You can blame it on the brands because they run advertising, but they also expect to get coverage, in the editorial of their skaters. It's the fault of capitalism, kind of. It's just the natural. People are trying to sell things, and they expect when they invest money in advertising to get something back for it. So you can't blame the magazines for having to do that, and you can't blame an advertiser for expecting to get something back for their money. But as a result, it makes a less honest publication. It turns something that could be this awesome outlet for creativity, and it turns it into just a brochure.
Skateboard magazines don't really have the voice that they used to have. I mean, obviously you're going to ask Big Brother questions. Big Brother had a huge voice. Thrasher had a voice. Transworld, as meek as it was, had a voice. Slap had a voice, you know, and they're all different voices, but you could actually sit there and figure out what their voices are. But I don't really see that anymore. Thrasher is still exactly the same. It's always going to be Thrasher. It's just kind of this like dumb caveman magazine. Like it's just, skateboard, you know, Hell Tour. It's like fucking push uphill. You know that's what Thrasher is going to be like every issue, and that's rad. That's how it should be. It's great.
The reason that no one's doing this kind of open wound, like, reportage of stuff is that, you know, everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, and no one wants to be the guy who's a dick to someone else. You know, it takes a lot of balls, I suppose, to kind of say something about someone, then probably meet them on the deck of a ramp 2 weeks later, and they think you're a dick. You know, no one wants to be that guy.
If I look in the future, print would be there, photos are still going to be on walls, we're still going to have photography, you know, as we know it. Absolutely. Magazines are going to be around. I hope they're going to be around. What's going to happen in the future? I don't know. Phones are going to get bigger. Thumbs are going to get bigger. Eyes are going to get bigger. We're going to be like, we're going to have massive thumbs. That's what we're going to have. We're going to evolve with bigger and bigger thumbs, so our thumbs are huge and our eyes are big. And we're like, that's what we're going to evolve in a weird way.
It's time for everybody to kind of rethink what they're doing, and the publications have to ask themselves, is what we're making worth putting to print? And be true to their answer. Does it make sense only because of that advertisement, or does it make sense because we are proud of this content and it needs to be printed and people need to see this?
The future is like, it's got to be quality. It's got to be something that you just can't get everywhere. And you know, everybody has phones and goes on Instagram and they see all the photos, like they're always current with what's going on, but they don't get to see anything bigger than the screen on their phone.
Print in the future is not going away. It's going to change. It'll definitely change forms in a way, whether that's frequency, whether that's quality, like more book, more, you know, like a more special packaging. But print will definitely, and when I'm talking about the future, I'm talking 10, 20 years. I don't know about fucking 100 years from now. Who fucking knows? It'll all be tablets on our brains, like stuck to our brains.
I think a lot of people just consider print magazines totally dead and buried. The same way they do like long form skate videos. Like, I was talking to someone the other day, like every long form skate video that has come out for the last 5 years has been the last long form skate video we'll ever have until the next one.
I'd be bummed. I'd miss print magazines if they were gone. But again, it's the reality of business, right? I miss my factory being here in Costa Mesa. It's gone. It's in Tijuana. Know what if it wasn't in Tijuana? I wouldn't be in business anymore. I'd be gone. Okay, so a business has to adapt or die, and the magazine industry has to adapt or die. And they don't have to do it the same way. They just got to figure out their own way to do it.
I don't see that ever going away. I mean, are you gonna live in just like a virtual house where there's no things? Are you gonna, you need I mean, I guess it's different than a bed or a couch, but I mean, people have shit. You know, people are, to a certain extent, we're all, hoarders, varying levels of how much we hoard and how much we keep, how much we save. But if you love skateboarding, I could see you holding on to Thrashers for a long time.
I just really hope that
people still regard magazines with that with the highest of esteem and ranking, that's like the top place to be, and that's where skaters aspire to get themselves to, you know, like, I want to be on the cover of a magazine, or I want to get a check out, or I want to get a photo in there so bad, you know.
Like, I'm gonna put that fucking magazine in a box, and 20 years from now I'm gonna pull it out and go, fuck. It's gonna bring back so much cool memories, like it's gonna be like, there's just a nostalgia aspect of it,
So we've been writing on bones and papyrus and scrolls and paper and in books for 8,000 years. 8,000 fucking years. Facebook and Twitter and this shit started in 2004 about? Like, that's I think when Facebook launched. Like, and so what's that? 8 years? So 8,000 versus 8 years. We're really into our shiny little devices, and they're really fucking cool. And they are an evolution in how information is transmitted, and they're definitely going to change the game. They've already changed the game. But like I said, print has been around for 8,000 fucking years. It's not going anywhere.
There's no denying the internet, video coverage, Instagram, social media, everything that's growing at a rapid rate. But to complement it with something that's printed has to be done. It has to be done for the photographer, for the skater, for the fan, for the person who doesn't even skateboard yet, when you physically see something, that is so much more special than seeing it on screen, and that's what's going to keep people into skateboarding, keep it interesting, keep photographers getting paid and going on trips. It is just a completely complementary thing.
I do not know if print magazine means the same to these kids, but I do believe this. This is one thing, I'll end on this. I do believe this. Through the history of skateboarding, our jobs as professional skateboarders was not to win, not to be the best, not to have the most fans. All that stuff, you're supposed to do it, but it's all through the avenue of making people fall in love with skateboarding and want to stay doing it the rest of their lives. If you know that, all the other stuff comes. And whatever it takes to do that, whether it's print magazines or whether it's Instagrams or whatever, but I do know this, out of the 100 kids that start skateboarding, 10 of them are diehards. And they will always be diehards, whether there's 100 people skating, 1,000 people skating, or 1,000,000. And the more we reach those diehards, and the more they stay doing it, instead of from 13 to 21, they stay doing it until they're 60, you'll sell more product to them, you'll sell more shoes to them, more clothes to them, all the nonsense that what we're really doing is trying to sell product to people. You'll have more people that fall in love with it, stay doing it forever, and those people want print.
Rowan Zarilla. And I've seen him grow up, like, coming from around here, and you're like, oh, he skates different. But, like, he can just hit things and do things that you wouldn't even think of. Like, whoa, he's walling off that switch to something over to actually doing a backside lip slide on a handle. Like, he can do all these things, and it almost seems effortlessly and looks super cool. So he's probably one of my favorite skaters to watch right now.
Two guys to me that are super special that have come out recently are Carlos and Tiago. Those two are fucking mind-blowing, to me, to watch just their kit, how they skate, what they do, like how much power they have on a skateboard, the way they look. There'll never be another Keenan or there'll never be another Henry, but those dudes remind me, Carlos has this like angry kind of like crazy sort of Henry vibe to me, and Tiago has this really powerful kind of light on his feet sort of vibe that Keenan had, and it was so special and so sick, and it just, again, there'll never be another Keenan, obviously, but it's like it reminds me of that, and it's very special.
In Japan, there's a skater named Yuto Horigome, and I think he's pretty much the best skater right now in this country. I think he started out skating vert first, so he can do all these like 540s and stuff, and then he learned street after, and he's a ripper. He can skate anything, handrails, tech tricks, vert, anything.
To speak locally, I'd say, I mean, Kevin Rodriguez will be a name that most people would probably say these days in Europe, or in France, but I think in Europe, I think he has something really special. And it's been interesting to watch him grow into that guy.
Tom Knox's part in the Isle video was probably my favorite video part of the last few years. You know, there was something about, I mean, it was shot awesome. The skating was fantastic. And then just the sound of the streets in London.
He skates for Polar. Oski, that guy, he was here like a year ago, and he was just insane. And he was like, I think he's like 16, and that guy it was just exciting because he was just flying around all over the place, and perfect style, just, and unique points of view, or trick selection and using spots, and just gnarly.
There's this kid Zion Wright that I'm like backing super hard, and I think he's gonna be the next to shot. He's got it, man. He's like so powerful. He loves to skate. He goes bigger. His trick selection is awesome, and he's just like super good vibes, smiles all the time, and he's something really special about him. He broke his femur, and he came back stronger. It's crazy. It's like, oh, you're pushing me back? I'm pushing you harder.
I think internationally, Jackson Pills will be the next skateboarder that will rise to a level where he's recognized worldwide. I know he's got Enjoy pushing him. I think he just got on King of the Road, so and bands behind him. So hopefully he spends a little bit more time in the States to show what he can do, because he's got this freakish talent where he can do virtually anything on a skateboard.
Don is going to be somebody that is going to really, really reverberate in skateboarding. I think he's going to be one of the top guys. Like, he's going to be a skater of the year. Positively, someday he's going to be skater of the year.
He is what skateboarding will look like. He's not what skateboarding looks like now, if that makes sense. He can skate tranny, he can have the power kind of like Grant, but he also has the foot and finesse of a real controlled street skater, where a lot of people, there's not a lot of guys that have all of that.
And Day One Song. You know? Day One Song is gonna, he already is, but he's gonna be revered as one of the greatest skaters of all time. For sure. People might forget about it, but when he's that good and he's right there, you might forget, but yeah, Day One. He's insane. I love him.
Like day one.
Yeah, Day One since day one.
I'm super devoted to skateboarding because I think when I was like 6 years old, maybe something like that, like I got a skateboard, and I didn't understand what a skateboard was. Like, to me, it was like a toy. It was the same thing as like a pogo stick or something, you know? And then over time, like, I realized that it's like a culture.
I can't imagine what my life would be without skateboarding. Like, it's been at the center of my consciousness since I was 13 years old, and I'm 44, and I don't see that changing ever. Like, the happiest I've ever been in my life, and you know, I feel really fortunate to still be able to work in skateboarding after all these years.
Like, without it, I would be somebody completely different that I couldn't even picture right now. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here, I wouldn't be talking to you, I wouldn't be hanging out with Jim Thiebaud, I wouldn't be, you know, living in LA, I wouldn't be traveling to New York, I wouldn't be going to Europe, I wouldn't, you know, like, I told you I'm probably going to Cannes, and you're like, oh, I'll give you this guy's number and that guy, and I'll tell you where to go. Like, that doesn't exist anywhere but in skateboarding.
You can have all the money in the world. You go to a car dealer, you pay cash for this car. The minute you go out the parking lot, you take a right, there's a whole bunch of rules. Stop signs, street lights, whatever. You're on your skateboard, there are no rules. The rule is you're limiting your mind and your ability to use the environment around you. You know, whether you're going to be progressive or just cruise, doesn't really matter. It's your choice, right?
There's no boundaries. You can travel, you meet people, like, you know, every day. Like, I could be at a restaurant or whatever, you know, and you hear the sound of skateboarding, you look fucking, you know, you look back. And now I've had that reflex since I was 12, you know, like you travel, I'd go to Australia on holidays from New Caledonia, and you look at people's shoes, you know, you'd see like people with like Vision streetwear shoes, like, fuck, there must be skaters, you know, like, and if they had like a hole, like the ollie hole, you go speak to them, you know, and that's how rad skateboarding is. There's no boundaries, like it's not a religion, there's no fucking, that's cool, that's not cool, fuck it. If you skateboard, you know, it's my world, and it's all I know, man, and it's all I want to know.
It's been a part of my life since I was 9 years old, 8, 9 years old. And it's never left. Like, I've never not skated, I've never stopped, never taken a break for 6 months. It's everything. Like, my brain constantly thinks about skateboarding, no matter what. No matter if I'm fighting with my wife, taking my kids to school, working, like, I'm constantly thinking about skateboarding. I can't not think about it, and I feel so fortunate to be able to work in the industry and be a part of it. Like, I'm still a little kid. I'm still a little kid that's fucking blown away every day that I get to be a part of it.
It's like, you don't have to listen to anyone, you can do whatever you want. You can travel with your friends, have fun, go to the bar that night, go skate in the morning when you wake up. It's like, no other person I know has a life like this, you know? Like, where it's just, have fun with your friends and do tricks on a piece of wood, you know? No one lives like this, you know? It's fucking crazy.
Dude, it's like a fucking community of fucking sick-ass individuals that you can't even fuck with because the other motherfuckers don't even skate, don't even understand what the fuck we go through. That's why I'm holding my hand up right here because I skate. I'm a fucking warrior, dude, for my whole fucking life. 38 fucking years on this fucking planet. I'm still fucking shit up.
Skateboarding will always be fucked up, and you know, there is more corporate interest, there's more corporate involvement, and I want to remain, you know, kind of firmly entrenched over here with Thrasher, telling people like, no, this is what we do. You know, this is where we stand. We're not the Olympics. We're not Street League. This is about just having a good time with your friends, drinking a few beers, whatever.
Skateboarding gave me everything. Like, everything good that ever happened in my life happened because of skateboarding. That's why I'm so, you know, I don't know if I'd be dead or in prison. I don't know what would have happened to me if it wasn't skateboarding. I don't think, my feeling is it wouldn't have been, I don't know what, but without skateboarding, I don't know what would have happened. So that's why I'm so devoted for it, because it's given me my life, and everything good that ever happened to me in that time is because of skateboarding.
Choosing to skateboard and continue to skateboard, it fucking saved my life, you know? And it's like, I can't. It's weird. It's like something, I don't know, dude. It's like something I hold on to. It's like, I fucking value it. It's just, you know, I know what it is. It's like, yeah, you go play on a toy with your friends and try to ollie over a bench and grind that fucking curve. That's all it is in reality. But what it has done for me,
So you will be grateful for
fuck yes. Forever.
Still
say, would it be enough? But